I came to the PTJ this year for the same reason I come to the PTJ every year. I try to take over the world. A little pinky in the brain there for you. My name's Chris McClellan, otherwise known as Uncle Mud. I build stuff out of mud and teach other people how to do that. Not so much that we need more things made out of mud as that we need more people who feel confident in their ability to build something out of nothing. When I was in high school, I broke my leg and my dad gave me a copy of Lloyd Kahn's book, Shelter. Completely set me on a path that I couldn't avoid if I wanted. And it's all houses all over the world that people built themselves out of whatever was there. My house 20 years ago cost me sometimes $1,000 a month for propane. It got to a point where I could not afford to heat my house. The $200 wood stove I could afford to try to get off of that treadmill was a crappy wood stove. And it clogged up with creosote so quickly I had to clean it out every 6 weeks, not every year. And it burned through a lot more fuel than it should have. And the thing that was the most worrisome to me, the problematic thing, was I had to get up 2 or 3 times a night to feed the darn thing because it was a junky wood stove. But it went from $1,000 some months to $1,000 a year in fuel. And then it went from, when I built rocket heaters, suddenly it was safer. I had a heater that's less likely to burn down my house. I'm using $100 a year, not $100 a month, but $100 a year in industrial scrap wood from the flooring manufacturer down the street to heat my house in Cleveland, Ohio. I can do all sorts of other things instead of going and making that $1,000 a month to throw into the fire. And that's empowering. That lets me do more of what I want to with my life. So rocket heaters set aside for me a major impediment to happiness. And so I geek out about them. What can we do to make this more accessible? Can I build one that can go on a wooden floor? And so we got the cottage rocket. Can I build one that is easy to move around and can be put in a workshop to get you warm quickly? Turns out, yes, I can. So the really exciting one this year is that even before I started coming here, they were working on, do we have a rocket kiln? The answer was no. There's a lot of things we tried that didn't even get warm enough to fire the darn pot. Lisa Orr is a potter who came to our rocket heater jamboree last year. So she came and we taught her how a rocket heater worked and we taught her how to build one, and we ended up being able to go to Massachusetts and help her install a couple to make her house, her 1700s house, less cold and awful to heat, and her pottery studio quite comfortable with rocket heaters. The logical extension of that was, yeah, but I want to fire my pottery without having to pay for all this electricity or have my backyard filled with smoke. We actually succeeded firing a rocket kiln over and over, and we took an old junk electric kiln that would take 4 or 5 hours to get up to temperature and fire some low-grade pottery. We set it on a rocket. We were able to get it to do its job in 2 hours. Instead of using $50 of electricity, it used this much wood, like almost no firewood. And pine firewood, when we fired it up with black locust, which is a lot hotter, oh, now we got the high fire pottery. This means people can fire pottery in their backyard who couldn't afford to. We think we're going to be able to melt aluminum efficiently, and that's one of the explorations for next time. We've got a rocket heater for a hot tub of how fast can we heat water without blowing it up so that we can have a relaxing soak from a little pile of sticks. That's what we're going to try tonight. We built a little kiln that we can also heat up metal in. Got it working in that we were able to get some metal cherry hot and pound on it and make something. Several people who came wanted their own rocket core to take home. We built one and with Jason, and Jason took it home and he's going to use it with his kid. There's a fire triangle that you'll see from books on wood stoves. And basically a fire needs fuel, and a fire needs oxygen, and a fire needs heat. And if I create an optimal situation for combustion, meaning I have a box that gets hot and stays hot, and that box is so hot that when I put wood into it, the flammable gases that are inside of wood start to evaporate. And if I have that box that's hot enough to stay producing flammable gases and then exploding them in the presence of oxygen. And I put a chimney on there. The chimney is going to have those hot gases rising so quickly that they're bringing in more air, and that more air, as long as it's still hot enough in that box, will continue to combine with the chemicals that are being released from the wood. We're not burning the wood, we're burning the chemicals that are off-gassing from the wood when we warm it up. We've got our heat, and we've got our fuel, and we got our air. We're trying to let as much as is needed of each of those come through as quickly as possible so we can have the most complete burn we possibly can have. And we're not trying to do that in a laboratory. We're trying to do that in our living room safely. When I first got a rocket heater book back in 2004, I got Yanto and Leslie's book about the principles of rocket heaters. And I gave this book to my local fire chief, who read it, called me back, and he said, "Congratulations, this is the first non-suicidal wood stove I've ever seen. Too bad it's illegal." It is a problem that it's illegal. Last year's Rocket Heater Jamboree, we got Sky Huddleston, who is the only one in the United States building a legal wood stove that is a rocket heater. It's not the best rocket heater, but it's in production and it's UL listed and it's EPA approved, which means it's so much more accessible than the perfect rocket heater if I built one, because I can only build a few a year. Home heating, forge, domestic hot water, that's great because a big chunk of an energy budget in any house is hot water. Firing pottery. I have a friend who's a potter who can't afford to fire up her kiln. This is continually devastating to her. Food dehydrator. I wanted to see, can I fire up a heater and store enough heat in the stone inside of this heater so that the sun and the rocket heater together allow this dehydrator to keep going overnight. That's what I can think of off the top of my head. We built the rocket oven and we make pizza with it a couple of times every time we're here because it's really cool. I mean, I have an earthen pizza oven at my house and I love it. And it also takes 2.5 hours of firing to get it to where you can have pizza, whereas this thing warms up faster than the electric oven in my house. So that can be used every day. And it has about 1/3 of the environmental footprint of the electric oven at the house. UncleMud.com is my website. I have a YouTube channel where I try to capture a lot of these things I'm doing.